Hi everyone, I'm Ruchika Bindra and you are watching this week's episode of #NoFilter. On the other side of the show, we will be talking about beauty pageants, millennials, and what they really think about it. Stay tuned, everybody. A warm welcome to all of our #NoFilter viewers from across GTA and Toronto. I'd like to also start by introducing our social media guru, Cassandra.
Hi, Ruchika.
How are you?
As she said, the entire episode is going to be on beauty pageants. So if you have a comment, is it positive, is it negative? I want to hear from you. So if you have a question, and we're going to have Miss India on the show later, so if you have a question for her, make sure you tweet it in, and I'll read your tweet on air.
Perfect. So today we are talking about a really important topic. We are talking about millennials and beauty pageants. And most people think, what do you mean beauty pageants? What's there to talk about? Some people are either pro or some people don't necessarily see the point in it. Well, that's precisely why we figured a lot of our #NoFilter viewers have tweeted to us, messaged us, saying that it's something that's changing. The dynamics of where beauty is changing, and the dynamic and expectations of pageants is changing. So joining me today, later on our episode, will be Miss India Canada 2015, Manasvi Noel, here to help us debunk some of these myths and to tell us a little bit about her journey. So I'd like to start off by introducing my fabulous millennial panelists that always make it so much easier for me to get through all these fab episodes. So we have Sophia, Elliot, and Katarina. So guys, how are you?
Good.
So I know, Elliot, you're dying to talk about this topic. It's just totally up your alley.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, we'll start with saying, A, have you ever watched a beauty pageant? And B, if so, why?
I've watched a beauty pageant, Miss Universe.
Okay.
I think I've watched it once. And what do I think about it? I think it's reflective of society in a way,
Okay.
because society has always been predicated upon women's beauty and the fact that that's the only thing that matters. And I think that now there's a change, and we're seeing that beauty isn't the most important thing about women, because women are just as smart, just as powerful as men, and that's very important to note. But I think that beauty pageants are a great way for women to be body positive and to express themselves, even though it's not just about beauty anymore. It's still, if they want to do it, then they should.
So I'm going to ask you, that's a really good point. You say that it kind of paints a different light now with body image, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I want to reverse a little bit back as to men don't typically understand why women do it, right? So if women have boyfriends or if they have husbands or other people going into it, but you'll always find the guy saying, well, you don't need to do it. Why would you do that? Why would you stand up and just get analyzed by, half the world or half the panel that's watching you? And then you have the other sector of men that watch it because they get to look at very beautiful women walking in different gowns and lavish outfits. So A, why did you watch it? And B, what would you say to those men that think that women are just standing on this platform and being judged?
I watched it because I thought it was interesting. I heard it's a very big deal, and a lot of people are watching it, and nothing draws a crowd more than a crowd.
So curiosity.
So yeah, curiosity. And the second part, which was, what do men think about it?
What do you think about the men that tell you, okay, well, there's no point of doing it, you're going up to be judged on the floor?
I think that everybody has their opinion, and I think on the one hand, yes, if I was in a relationship and was talking to my girlfriend, I would think, you don't have to do it, but it's up to her. So there are men who, yes, watch it just to see beautiful women, and there's nothing wrong with that, because they're there for the show, they're there to show themselves off, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I watched it just because there was a huge hype, and of course it's always nice looking at beautiful women, but you can't objectify them, of course. But yeah, that's why I watched it.
Okay, so Sophia and Elliot, Sophia and Katarina, I'm going to turn it over to you ladies. Pageants. I know most girls have grown up knowing about it. We always thought, can we do it? Should we do it? Have you guys ever sort of thought about it? What do you guys think about beauty pageants? Just in general, if someone were to be like, hey, there's a pageant happening in the area, you should apply. What would your first sort of response be?
I would go for it if there was a pageant happening. I remember even being on vacation, and there's always those kids clubs, and they would
Yeah.
have pageants at the end of it. And I would love doing those because it's an experience that you're gaining. Like, you're going out, yeah, you're showing off you're embracing yourself.
Very cool. Katarina?
To be honest, I think the first thing I think of when someone says beauty pageant is, the I believe in world peace,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of like the major stereotypes out there. But I think I would go for it. Like, at Markham Fair, they always have some kind of like the baby pageant or something. And that's where I first was introduced to it. And I thought it was cute. And then I think about it and I was like, is it? What's the idea behind it? Why are people watching it? But I think I'd go for it. Like you said, Sophia, like it's an experience, right? And it'd be kind of cool.
So just to debunk that myth of yours, I still don't think that anybody would say no, they don't agree on world peace
Yeah, for sure.
at all. Being someone who's done a pageant before, I could tell you that I think in general, everybody in pageants or not want world peace. So I find that hilarious. It always reminds me of Miss Congeniality whenever I think about pageants, because people, when I did them, always came up to me and said, okay, is it just like it is in the show? Is it just as catty as it is? And I always say any industry can be what you go in with it, right? What your mindset is. I went in with a positive mindset. I was a broader girl. The year that I participated in 2013, I was the broadest girl out of all of the women there. So I was very self-conscious. But I had said it to myself. I said that we're changing the way we look at society and we're changing the way we are. And as long as I'm healthy and I'm physically and active, I'm going to get to necessarily maybe the body I want. But if I stand there and try to compete with contestant A, B, C, and D based on my physical beauty, then I've already lost.
Yeah.
So if you go in with that idea as well, and you go in searching for something that you're looking for, everyone's going to take something different from it, right? You may go in for self-confidence. Somebody else may go in to practice their model walk. Somebody else may go in to practice their Q&A, which is so hard. So I think in the last 10 years, I would say pageants are changing. I always enjoy watching Miss Universe. I watch pageants from literally all over the world because I think it's very hard to stand up in a crowd and be able to tell everybody, this is me, analyze me and take me for who I am. And sometimes you could be having an off day and not an off day. Sometimes you could be having an amazing day, but your competition is so fierce. So as you said, it's an experience, but if you know how to turn it around, it can be such a learning curve. So I think this is why a lot of our viewers tweeted us in today and kind of, send us messages wanting to know a little bit more about where are millennials thinking with this? What are they seeing? So on the other side of the break, we're going to be talking with Cassandra a little bit about what our viewers are tweeting us. And feel free to send us a message at No Filter Rogers about what your opinion is. And we're also going to be having Manasvi Noel with us after the break, and she will be talking a little bit more about her journey, her experiences, and her motivation for doing the Miss India Canada 2015. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, #NoFilter viewers. We hope you are enjoying the segment. Later on today, we will be joined with Manasvi Noel from Miss India Canada. We are currently talking about beauty pageants, millennials, debunking some myths, and kind of getting an understanding of where our viewers see it to be. Guys, I'm going to talk about one of the most important messages that we've been getting, and that's about what is the role that the media plays in forming sort of negative connotations and or positives. So I'm going to start with a show that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. It's called Toddlers and Tiaras. For a lot of our viewers, it's a reality-based show where young toddlers and very, very young girls, I think up till maybe 3 or 4, go on these pageants and their parents help them prep for it, and it's a beauty pageant for them. And pageants such as these do happen, maybe not as much around the world, but the reason this episode got, the season actually, or the show, got so much of media coverage around it is because they were showing sort of the back culture of how moms are with their kids during the training processes. And if you have a second, check it out on, YouTube, any social media site, you'll kind of get an idea by just the trailer. It's very harsh. You have toddlers being yelled at. You have little girls that are like, wanting to rest, and their parents are forcing them to work out, and they're forcing them to learn their routine. And if they lose, they're kind of, there's so much of a pressure created. And this is a reality show. So I know for sure, at least, Katerina, you've watched it. Yeah. So what's your take on this?
Honestly, watching it, you don't know what to believe, right? You don't know, is it scripted, is it not? And you kind of hope that, it's over-dramatized. And I think, even watching it, it doesn't really brainwash you, but it makes you kind of believe that that's what goes on at beauty pageants, right? That these kids are being forced to do something they don't want to do. That they're, catty and bratty, and it's this huge, competition, and everyone's over the top. And just, watching it, it's I don't know if I would want to be in a beauty pageant if that's what it's like. But is it really like that? It's kind of sad.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. When I watched it, I was very no, this can't be it. And then when I went to a pageant, then I had helped out on so many different pageants and other places, I was like, okay, this is very far from the reality. This doesn't happen. And it wasn't just the pageant I did, which was phenomenal, but it was also other pageants that I had helped out at, coached at, helped in many different aspects. These things don't happen, A show like that is a reality show because it gathers attention, because there's drama. If every teen went on, if every toddler went on and did everything perfectly, we wouldn't be having ratings, right? So I think shows like that over-dramatize and create sort of a stigma around pageants. And I think that's a lot of the reason why millennials are more about engaging and having discussions on different topics to break these sort of hegemonic, very typical mentality that we've had growing up, right? For example, you can even look at every time a girl in a pageant says something wrong, it's all over YouTube, Miss USA, Miss India, anything. It's kind of discussed like the biggest thing. And I always ask this to people, they're still human. We mess up. I mess up on the job all the time. The president can mess up in his speech. So why is it such a big deal?
I think that media just wants to take things and put it in the worst light. So, and that's the way that you get the most viewings and the most ratings, is if you take something and you show it in a bad way. Mm-hmm. And even though they are just human, we all forget that, and it's just, let's just make fun of someone.
Yeah, we have this huge expectation. They're on this platform. And I always tell people when I see, a model walk down a ramp and slip, or if I see a pageant girl kind of not do her twirl right, or, slumber a little bit with her words to judges, I always cringe because I feel bad for them. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, it is so hard to go up on this stage, and it's such a, it's almost it's a part of you that, you're putting out to be analyzed and displayed, and it's a hard thing to do. And you said it right, we're so used to laughing and mocking at it because the media has formed us to do it that we almost don't know how to be like, oh, okay, hope she can pick herself up and keep going. Yeah. We're almost like, oh, well, she's out now. She slipped. She's out now. She's not going to make it. And I have seen people mess up their starting sentences in pageants and still win because they conducted themselves great, and judges have said, don't worry, start over. At the end of the day, your diction is going to be right. The point that you're trying to make is what we're more interested in. So I think the media forms sort of these objectified kind of versions of what pageants are. And especially, as I know, Elliot, you said at the starting, women in beauty, right? It's almost like if you're not pretty, don't apply to be in a pageant. That's kind of, have you guys felt that mentality where you'd always look at the pageant girls and you're like, they're so pretty. Yeah. Like, how do I do it? And you always feel like you can't do it. But more and more, I'm seeing more real-looking women, more real-looking girls on pageants. And Elliot, as someone who's only seen one, I know it's hard for you to compare, but what do you think is the biggest way millennials can break the stereotype?
I think that the biggest way they can break the stereotype is to just apply. Just, if you don't think of yourself right away as, oh, I'm not as beautiful as the other girls, just apply. It doesn't hurt, right? And regardless if you get accepted or not, you could get accepted. You don't know that until you try. So you fail at every opportunity you pass up, right?
That's a really good point.
So I think that's how we would.
Very cool. So I know we're getting lots of tweets, and usually I start right away with tweets. So I know a lot of our tweeting fans are going to be like, what happened? Where's my tweet? So Cassandra, over to you.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about toddlers and tiaras, and I thought that was super interesting because right when we started talking about pageants, I thought about kid pageants. Because you know what, as an adult, you might be able to take the pressure, but as a kid, you're affected by everything. So we got a tweet in from Claire, and it said, what is the most negative thing about putting young kids into pageants? So we can't really compare this to toddlers and tiaras because, as you said, it's a reality show, so it's a lot more dramatic. But in regards to like real young kids in real pageants, what do you think would be the absolute worst part of it?
Cassandra, I'm going to throw it on you first.
I think the worst part would be is just young girls thinking already that they have to be wearing a lot of makeup to be pretty, and beauty is pain, and always just comparing themselves to other girls. I don't think that's a good mentality to already have as a young girl. And I think that would be the worst part, is just being compared to all the other girls on the pageant.
Do you think you would be for having kids in pageants, or do you think there should be like a certain age? Or do you think it doesn't matter?
I definitely think there should be a certain age. Like, I'm all for like Miss Universe. I'm all about that. I love watching it. But as like young girls, I don't think I would want my future daughter to grow up with the mentality that she has to wear a lot of makeup and she has to be compared to all the other girls.
Experts?
I think it's kind of part of the competition aspect that would be negative, is just kind of plotting girls against girls, right? And again, like, they build relationships and they have friendships for sure. But when it comes down to it at the end of the day, right, they're all there because they want to do as well as they can. And I feel like, obviously, that's a great thing. Girls build their confidence. They have a lot of skills to take them far in life. But again, it's kind of that mentality of, I need to do better than that person to get where I want to be.
Okay, and then I'm going to play devil's advocate and say, well, what about the fact that we compete in every aspect of life? What about the fact that, we compete, for example, when you're young in badminton, or you compete in soccer, you're still competing with everybody else in your team because you want to be, the star player, the goalie, you want to get nominated, and then you're competing with the team across you, right? So I feel like competition always happens, but on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about a really important aspect, Katerina said, developing friendships and your own self-confidence in beauty pageants. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, #NoFilter viewers. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. We were talking about pageants, millennials, and sort of what the changing environment is for it. On the other side of the break, we were talking, Sophia, me, Katerina, and Elliot, about toddlers and tiaras and sort of more younger kids coming into the environment. And I think you brought a really good point up on the break. You said, how can we compare it to comparative dance, for example, competitive dance? So tell me about that, because I know you've done that, right?
Yeah, I was doing competitive dance for a few years, and you can see that there's a lot of younger girls in it as well. And I think that, honestly, just the competitiveness, and even there, they're taught to wear the makeup, the hair back, like you have to look a certain part. And I think it instills that beauty is within and without me.
I kind of think on the same way as you. I used to be iffy about it, but then I said, if I'm going to put my kid in sports when they're young, they're going to be competitive. They're going to learn leadership skills. They're going to learn team skills. They're going to learn you're not always going to win. You're not, just because your parents give you everything doesn't mean you're always going to win in life. And sometimes you have to work hard, and there is competition, because to me, I always feel it's easier for someone to face that reality as they get older if they've been through it, right? If you've been someone who's gone your entire life, done single-oriented sports, won everything, gotten everything, you almost don't know when you get your first rejection in any aspect, whether it's relationships, education, your first job, you kind of don't know how to take it. You get really hard on yourself. And I think, for me at least, when I did the pageant, I walked out feeling so much stronger. I said, you know what? I learned so much about myself. I learned, how do I act in pressure? How do I act in different situations? What do I do if 3 people around me kind of I feel like they're more better. How do I compose myself? And you learn to sort of win and learn with the wins that come and the failures that come. So in response to our tweet from our tweet that we got earlier on the break, I think that starting off young, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I always think it depends on the environment. It depends on the way your parents introduce it to you. And I think it also depends on the outlook you have towards it. What are you looking to gain from it, right? Essentially, that's what it is. So Elliot, I wanted to ask you, have you ever watched a full beauty pageant where you see the Q&A round?
Yes,
Okay.
that Miss Universe, I saw the entire Q&A round as well, and
Okay.
the answers were better than as you said, the stereotypes. Oh, world peace. They actually said more in such a constrained amount of time than I can probably think of in this segment. So I was very surprised, just because of the nature of beauty pageants that has historically been. So yeah, I did watch it, and I enjoyed it.
And I think that's another aspect to it, that we get so sold on the beauty and the physical aspect of it that we don't realize that there's so many more aspects, right? There's the general knowledge, there's the ability to think on your spot. Even introducing yourself, you know, what's the smile you have, what's the courage you have, how are you really selling yourself out there, but at the same time being authentic and being real. Because as you said, the environment is changing. People can tell if you're going to be fake and I'm here for world peace and, you know, you're going to try to turn your tiara. People see that. And more judges are looking for people that are authentic, that are very unique in their way and their expression. I think that's one of the biggest things that stands out in our pageants today. On the other side of the break, we're also going to be meeting with Manasvi Noel, so I definitely want to ask her about her experience, share some of my experiences with her, and talk about the Miss India Canada pageant, which is taking place this Saturday. So if you are interested in ever just going to see what a pageant's like, kind of getting all these myths that are sold in the media out of your mind, you can go on the Miss India Canada website. It's www.missindiacanada.com, and you can definitely purchase tickets. Cassandra, I can see all these tweets going off on social media, so share one with me.
So we got a tweet in from Taylor, and it says, does beauty pageants enforcing traditional beauty rules damage women's mental health? And maybe this is something Ruchka can touch upon, because you were in a pageant. Did you see like women feeling degraded? And even the panelists can have an opinion on this. What do you guys think? If you were in a pageant, do you think it would affect your mental health?
Honestly, I went into it wanting to have fun, and every single girl that I met, I did the Miss India Canada in 2013, and every single girl that I met all said the same thing to me. They're like, we're here to have fun. If we win, we win. If not, we're making a memory. And I say this to people anyways, you'll anyways go down in history as somebody that was in that year. You know, whether you made it in the top 20 or top 40 or you just made it to the pageant, you'll always have that behind you that, you know, I got selected to be in a pageant for that year. I was, you know, in the Miss India Canada pageant for 2013, and no one takes that experience away from it, so you've already won. So I think for me, when you relate it back to beauty, there were definitely, you know, lighter skinned girls, darker skinned girls, bigger skinned girls, but at the end of the day, it never was about the way we read that it is. It was never the way it's projected it to be, like in shows or like in Miss Congeniality. No one's ripping my dress, no one's ripping anyone else's dresses, your clothes are lined up, you have someone helping you. So it's a little bit dramatized. I'm sure these things can happen. Women can be catty anywhere, in the workplace, to school, to, you know, bullying in the office. These things happen anywhere, but in terms of changing beauty, I think beauty has changed on its own over time. I think what we expect women to look like in pageants has changed. You know, if you look at international pageants, it's so phenomenal to see, you know, someone like a Miss Venezuela winning or a Miss India going to the finals. There's so many different colors, which brings me back to Miss Canada. Do you want to share that story? Because I know you were really proud of it.
I mean, I'm not personally First Nations, but I was really proud of the fact that somebody of First Nations background won Miss Universe, and she was Canadian. She was recently on The Amazing Race.
Yes.
With her dad, and I just think that that's a way that we can progress in society about pageants, because historically, like way back when, First Nations were thought of as not, you know, uneducated and always, you know, drunk, and they're just not.
There was no standard of beauty equated to them.
Exactly, and they were
education.
just not the same as real Canadians, I would say, right? But in reality, first of all, they're the real Canadians, but you know, but the fact that she won just really impressed me, and I was really happy that we moved to a part of that in our society.
Yeah, no, beauty pageants are changing. If you watch one from like 1990s till today, it is a worldwide of a difference of the different women that come, a little bit bigger, broader, the outfits, the way they compose themselves. They don't, a lot of them now are going more towards a lighter form of makeup so that the audience and the viewers and the judges can see who they really are, right? And I think it's so much harder. Like, imagine going on a Miss Universe platform and being ready to talk about anything on the spot. These things can get really, really hard. And I think for anybody that's watching that ever wants to go into this, I always say that, at least for me, I built so much of a stronger self-confidence and ability to take defeats and wins. I went in really wanting to at least, not necessarily win the pageant, but get the experience. And I wanted to enter media. And so when I won Miss Photogenic, I said, well, it kind of fell into my hand. I was blessed enough that for the industry I wanted to go to, an award such as that was so fitting. And I think you'll always take something from it. Just learning to walk. I had such a fun time on the 2 days. Just, we danced, we rehearsed, you stay up till midnight, you talk about your fears. So there's a lot more to it than the stereotypical beauty. So on the other side of the break, we have Manasvi Noel with us here, Miss India Canada 2015, to talk and help us figure this all out. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, #NoFilter viewers. I am so happy to have Manasvi Noel finally on set with us. I know I've been calling for you so many times. I was just so excited, so welcome.
Thank you, it's an honor.
First of all, congratulations. I haven't seen you since you won, so congratulations on having the title. It is so exciting. So tell me, what was your journey like?
Wow, it has been a wonderful journey, first of all. I know you guys have been talking about myths and stigmas and everything, but it has been a wonderful journey. It was something that I didn't expect, actually, because I kind of had the stigma in my mind. But because I had just enrolled into the pageant just because I wanted to dance. So I was a belly dancer with a broken leg before the pageant. And I was like, you know what, I just want to go up there and just dance. That's it. I don't care about winning.
So wait, backtrack for me. You did belly dancing.
Yes.
And then you got an injury.
And yeah, I broke my leg,
Okay.
so I had a screw in my knee.
For
I had a
how
surgery, so I couldn't walk for a year.
Oh
I
my
know,
God.
and I'm a dancer, and I used to teach in India. And I had 3 branches, and everything was going perfect, and then I went ahead and I broke my leg. I know, it was the worst
And that's
ever.
probably like the hardest thing for someone to pull their passion away.
Absolutely, it was the hardest thing, and I was so tired of not being able to walk or stand or do anything on my own that I just gave myself an ultimatum. I was like, okay, I'm going to enroll for this pageant, and I have to be back on my feet and dancing and happy and healthy by then. And that's exactly what happened. I started dancing a month or 2 before the pageant. And when I was on stage, I had my kneecap on, and I could feel my kneecaps, grinding together. I was like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
And then I did, and I had like a standing ovation and everything in response. It was fantastic.
Do you think people could see the kneecap, or was it concealed?
Oh, it was under my skirt. So
Okay.
since I was belly dancing, I was dressed like a gypsy. So I was
Perfect.
wearing like lots of layers of clothes.
Okay.
So it was well hidden.
Amazing.
But I had
Wow.
like a post-surgical bod. I wasn't like I'm like half of what I was at that time.
Really?
Because I had a post-surgery bod, so it didn't really matter. Coming back to the stigma, it didn't matter how you looked. It didn't matter whether you had the most proportionate figure, whether you were hot or sexy. I had a personality, and I knew that that's my USP. And that's what's going to make me
And
whatever
what
it
made
makes
you
me.
apply for it? Were you like sitting one day and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to give it a shot? Like, what pushed you to do it?
Well, before, when I was 14 and I was new in Canada, I saw this ad in the paper, vote for the next Miss India Canada.
Yeah.
And then there were pictures of everyone. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'd like to do that. And then it has a really good reputation, amongst society, that Miss India Canada has really high standards, and we don't discriminate in, age, size, color, anything. You could be from anywhere in any part of India. Living in Canada, you just have to be ready and willing to showcase yourself and your confident self. So I knew that Miss India Canada was it was a pageant that had the highest of reputation. But in my mind, I also thought that it was rigged. I'll be very
Okay.
honest. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I thought it was rigged.
I thought it was too when I applied.
Oh, really?
So I get
Okay.
it.
Okay. So I thought it was rigged, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to win, whatever. Might as well do anything, say anything, So when I had to do my introduction, my mom told me, she's like, you have a very intimidating personality. You need to tone it down. And I was like, okay, I'll act more like,
A lady.
a lady,
First
and I'll
lady.
be a little more, I'll have a little more poise and everything. And so when I got on stage, I noticed that the mic was at half my length, so it was like here. And I was like, I told you like 2 times to keep it up here, I'm really tall. So I went ahead and I grabbed the mic out of the stand and then I started speaking to it. So I thought that was a little aggressive, but that was me. So apparently I've been told that once I did that, because I was the only person who did that, who just took charge and took the mic out and started speaking into it and just walked. And while they're doing my introduction, I think that really helped me stand out.
And it showed them that you weren't following a specific chart.
I
need to do this, I need to walk there. You were very real. This is who I am. I need to be comfortable. I need to pick up the mic, right?
Absolutely. In my mind, I was like, I don't care what they think about me. I'm just here to dance. I mean, that is what I was thinking the entire time. And even in the Q&A, I was shocked that I was in the top 5. I knew I danced well, but then...
So when you hit top 10, were you like, did you think after your dance, okay, I made top 10, honestly? Because by then you've probably seen in rehearsals the other contestants, kind of what have they done. So how did you kind of...
So we had top 5 right after the talent.
Okay.
So as soon as I was done, I was like, yes, great reaction. I went inside, I sat on the chair, and I was slouching and everything, and I was like, I don't care. But then I had to change for the next round, and I went up, and I was just standing there, okay, once they're done, I'll just leave, whatever. And they called me in top 5. And I was like, oh, okay. This is interesting. And I took a stand, and I was the last one to do the Q&A. So there were like 4 people before me. I think I was lucky that way because I was listening to what everyone was saying, and everyone had a different question. And everyone else had like this politics and society-based question, like really difficult questions. And in my head, I'm like, okay, what would I say to that? What would I say? What would I say? And then to me, I got a social media question. Like, it was so random. Like, my question was, people take a lot of selfies nowadays. Would you call that self-obsession? And in my head, I'm like, I just took like 100 selfies. Are you calling me self-obsessed?
Yeah.
I got offended.
So how did you answer that question?
So I was like, no. I was like, thanks, but no. And I went on and on about how wrong the judge was, to say that to me. And in fact, I even ended up saying, hey, I think I'm beautiful. I'm going to post a picture about it. And then I heard like people laughing in the audience that I was just so outspoken. I didn't care what they think. And I think that helped me stand out because I quickly finished the question as soon as I realized I'm like yelling at the guy.
You're like, now it's enough. That's enough now.
I need to stop.
Yeah, okay.
So I just said thank you and I stepped back.
Okay, and at that point were you like, I'm going to pack up now?
Like,
I'm
done.
I'm done.
I'm like, they're going to kick me out. I'm done.
You're like, Mom, get the car ready. You're like hinting to her and she's probably mortified. Like, what did my child just do?
In my head, I was like, my mom's in the audience. She's like, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you, take it down notch.
So how many judges do they have?
Last year, they had a 10, I think 10 or 11. And because you are given like a bowl of, like papers and chits and everyone's name is on it, so you don't know who you'll pick. So you have a variety of options.
So you may not get all of the 10 judges, may
Oh,
not
you
ask
may
the
not,
question.
and you may get some. Like, you may like someone, but you might get someone you don't like.
Okay,
you really
cool.
don't have a choice.
Very cool. So guys, I know before, actually Manasvi, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You were watching the show, I know from outside, so you know a little bit what we're talking about. What is the biggest myth you would like, not only our panelists sitting today, but our millennials all across Toronto and GTA watching to debunk? What is the biggest myth with pageants that bothers you as someone now who's done the journey?
So I didn't really know that there is stigma or myths attached to it as much because I was raised respecting pageants. My mom used to make me watch pageants, my brother and I, actually, both of us. So when I won and I had to go to these community events and I would meet all kinds of people and they would ask me, so they're like, so don't you feel weird that, it's just like, it's like cattle and you're just judging them? And I was like, no, God, no. I mean, what do you mean by cattle? We're not animals that you just treat however you want, say whatever you want. We are people who are there just for ourselves.
Got it.
We have nothing to do with other contestants. Like, I especially had nothing to do with other women. I did not think that, is that woman prettier than me or is she taller than me? It didn't matter. When you enroll in a pageant, you're there for yourself. And that's all that matters. You have to be confident about yourself and you have to know what you want to get out of it.
Manasvi, on the other side of the break, we're going to ask you a little bit more about it and what were your most memorable moments. Stay tuned, everybody, on #NoFilter. Welcome back, #NoFilter viewers. We are sitting down with the absolutely beautiful Inside and Out Manasvi Noel, winner of Miss India Canada 2015. We also have our fabulous teen panelists. We have Elliot, Sophia, and Katarina. So before we go back into our engaging topic, I know we're getting all these tweets. So Cassandra, which one are you going to hit us with?
Okay, so we got a tweet in from Samantha. She said, who do you think the audience are for these pageants, and how are they explicitly and implicitly affected? So this is definitely something for Rujika and Miss India Canada, like who was watching these shows. And for the panelists, you guys have all watched pageants. How were you guys affected by them?
You know what? I'll make mine really short and sweet. I think people from the community were there all over. There were people that didn't have friends in the like in that year. There were people that were maybe considering going in a year later. But overall, it was so great. I saw so many people like that I saw in the community just come out, support each other, and you know, you just want to see good talent and you want to see the effort that people are putting. That's especially what I've seen in pageants, but feel free to tell me otherwise.
So the people who are watching these pageants are people you're going to go ahead and meet later on in your reign. So a lot of the people who were watching this pageant live came up to me later. It's like, oh yeah, this is why I asked you to come to my event, because I heard you speak and I thought you'd do really well here. Okay. So people are always watching you, but in a positive way. They're always trying to use your talents and benefit you. So also there was another girl who won Miss Talented, I think. She did a really good folk Indian dance, and then she was later asked to do performances. You never know what kind of opportunities you get. I mean, when people are watching you, they're there to create opportunities for you, and you meet the best kind of people. You meet you meet CEOs, and you meet business owners, and you meet people who are genuine and real and who actually want to do something with their companies and with their talents.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think you said it right. It doesn't mean if you don't win something that you haven't gained something from it. I think just being selected in a pageant and trying, you're forever down in history that you were part of the contestants for that year. That's a huge thing in itself.
Yeah.
And even winning anything. I won Miss Photogenic when I got off the stage. Within a week after that, I was getting offers to do commercials. I was getting offers to do print magazines. And I was telling the organizer last time when I spoke to him, I said, it's crazy how something you want can happen. I had envisioned that, okay, I want to go into media and I would need a title like this. And when I walked out with Miss Photogenic, you know, one of the judges came up to me and said, you know that there's nothing more fitting than that title for the industry you want. Yeah. So you should be very happy. And I was like, okay, I am, but I'm not seeing anything happen until literally a week later. So I think you're right. The people in the audience that are there are kind of there to guide you and almost to be sort of your supporters. They're people in the industry that support you.
People who watch you also push you into different fields. Like, so as Miss Photogenic, you got to be in TV shows and print and everything. And as Miss India Canada, I was called for public speaking, to address a crowd, to inspire, to motivate, you know, to go around and talk to people. So I think it's fantastic. Everyone has a role to play, and people will find you.
So panelists, I know on the break you guys were trying to ask her all these questions, and I'm like, hold your questions, hold your questions. So Sophia, go ahead.
Were you always interested in pageants? Was it always something that you saw yourself getting into?
Oh God, no. No. I was a boy, okay? For a very long time, I would wear my brother's clothes. I was dressed up like a boy. I'd go to school like that. I'd cut my hair really short. I was really uncomfortable with the thought of being a girl.
Manasvi, if you would have told me this before the show, we would have had like a little picture of her, but...
Oh God, I'm so glad I didn't tell you.
Just to totally kill, this is what she used to look like, and there she goes. No.
As a woman, I just thought I was really ugly.
Okay.
Honestly, like I used to go around telling people, yeah, I'm just really ugly. I was so confident about the fact that I was really ugly, and it was terrible. I mean, people never tried to correct me or anything, but in my heart, I actually believed that I was the ugliest person. It was really, really bad because of my... They're like, what?
They're like, what's wrong with you? You just won a beauty pageant. They're like, something's not sitting
I know,
right
the
here.
irony, right? But I grew up like that. I grew up with... I had really bad schooling, you know, where teachers used to hit you and bully you more than encourage you. I grew up in that time. And so whatever they said to me, I ended up believing about myself. If I had relatives who made fun of my skin tone, which happened all the time, and relatives who, you know, make fun of your size, and I was a huge kid. I was really, really huge. That's what you end up believing as children, as teenagers. And that's what I thought up until I was like 18. It wasn't until I was 18 and I went on this diet and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to look good. I went on this diet and I lost so much weight. I mean, it was a really bad diet. It messed up my body and, you know, everything. And then I went into depression. And it was such a drastic change. There were so many drastic things that were happening and I just couldn't handle it. So before the pageant, when I say I was going through a rough patch, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I had a broken leg. The only good thing that I ever had was the dance classes that I used to teach and the students I had, and I didn't even have that. So I don't really know what your original question was, but this is where it led me.
No, I think it's a good understanding as to where you started and where you came. So
Yeah.
mental health, when you kind of reached yourself at the lowest point and then this opportunity came, were you not almost scared, like, here I go again, another failure, this may be another rejection, is this, you kind of get that fear because you've been burnt now with so many experiences?
You kind of get that, but I was at my rock bottom. So when you're at your rock bottom and you know you are, there's no other way but to go up. Okay, so when you're at your rock bottom, there's nothing more to lose. You're done. You have given up. So you might as well do everything possible to get out of there. And that's what I decided to do, pretty much.
Okay, that's actually, it's inspiring because a lot of people think beauty pageants are girls that grow up with, the absolutely perfect teeth and the stunning hair,
Oh, God,
and
no.
they just know how to speak, and all they do is practice
No.
their walk all day, and then they go on the stage, and that's it. And it's far from it.
Yeah.
So, girls, do you have anything to say about that?
It's just really inspiring.
Manasvi is going to be like, I'm releasing a book now.
I know. I was like, I'm so sorry. All of you look like you're really serious now.
She's like, I set the tone. No, it's good. I think it's good for our viewers to know that there is sometimes a different path for everybody to get there, right? It's something
Absolutely.
different that you'll take out of it. And I know a lot of people have the miscongeniality myths, and I said this a bit before, people are pulling your dresses. Nobody pulled my dress. Mine was on a hanger, very well sealed, and nobody pushed me. A very close friend of mine is still from the pageant, and I talk to her like every few months, and we touch base and stuff, and I made such good friendships there that I think will probably stay with me forever. Like, I think she'll be with me forever and ever. So I think there's that aspect too, the social aspect.
Absolutely.
On the other side of the break, we are going to talk to Manasvi about what she thinks her future is going to look like and what she recommends for millennials entering pageants today. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. You are watching this week's episode of #NoFilter. We are talking about beauty pageants, some of the questions and concerns, and we just got to hear a really inspiring story from the winner of Miss India Canada 2015, Manasvi Noel. So thank you once again for being with us. You're making them cry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll let it go. Another great thing I was saying, and I think tickets are almost sold out, so they should probably do it fast. If you ever just want to see what a pageant's like,
Absolutely.
help see the myths that me and her are talking about that don't exist, and kind of just get a community idea of how much fun these things can be. I know the Miss India Canada pageant for 2016 is happening this Saturday.
This Saturday,
So
November 12th.
are you nervous to give the crown over?
Oh, I was just really sad. I wasn't nervous. I was just really
You're like,
sad.
can I have an extension?
I already had an extension.
Okay.
I've been the longest reigning Miss India Canada.
That is amazing,
A
because
year
it's
and 4
normally in
months.
August, right?
Yeah, so
Yes.
they changed it up. They have a winter theme now. But I was really sad, and I was in college the other day, and I was talking to my program coordinator, Cassie. I was telling her how upset I was, and she said, well, you should look at it this way. You're giving someone else the opportunity to make them happy. You're giving them that responsibility. You're going to make someone else really, really happy. You're going to make their day. You're going to make their year. And I was like, wow, I'm going to do that. And then I got really excited. But let's see how it goes. The delegates that we have so far, all 15 of them, they're fantastic women. They're really passionate. I mean, the next generation is just so much smarter.
I
They don't need
know.
a crown to do anything. They're just like, I'm going to start working towards this.
Yep.
If I get a crown, I'll use it. If not, I'll keep going.
I'll still go, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good mentality to have, and you don't beat yourself up about it. You learn healthy competition
Absolutely,
at the
yeah.
same time. So Cassandra, I know we have a whole bunch of tweets, so we have time for like one or two.
Okay, so I have 2 tweets that connect to each other, and this is something I really wanted to ask you guys about because even I'm curious about this. So the first tweet comes in from Samantha, and she said, why do you think the swimsuit portion of the Miss America pageant still exists? And to connect to that, we have a tweet from Taylor. It says, do beauty pageants provide too many opportunities for sexual harassment? So in pageants, obviously women are seen as like an object, and there's, again, like the swimsuit portion, like is that too out of date? Should we be stopping that? And what do you guys think about it?
Okay, I'm going to throw it to Miss India Canada 2015 first.
So the first one was about the Miss America pageant.
Yeah, so about the fact that you have, the swimsuit section, which I think is also still done, I think in Miss Universe as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's also done in Miss Femina India back in India as well. So I think they still have that segment in quite a few pageants still.
They're working on it, though. There were a lot of controversies, and they were thinking about getting it out. The Miss America pageant, doesn't Trump own that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that explains everything.
Okay.
I'm not addressing that.
Okay, well said. You and me are on the same page on
Yeah.
that. But on the next question that she asked us. Oh my God, I'm stumped.
I'm sorry. My inner feminist was
Sexual
just raging.
harassment. Do you think that sort of rounds like the swimsuit round, or
Yeah.
kind of those sort of places where you're now supposed to pose and model in really tight bathing suits that show off your body, do you think it can lead to something like sexual harassment?
You know what? You earlier spoke about how a lot of negative things can happen even when you're in the workplace.
Anywhere.
Yeah, in anywhere, in an office, in a corporate office, anywhere. So I don't think that pageants, like I've never been through something like that, but in a pageant where, say, swimsuit round is mandatory, fine, but that doesn't mean that you will be prone to getting sexual harassed. You'll be harassed at all. I haven't really heard that as much.
Nor have I.
Yeah.
I think that's a very strong connotation. I think any industry where you see women and sort of their skin being showed, at the end of the day, there's going to be a select group of men that
I
like
know.
to objectify them. And I think that's in any
That's-
platform. It could be a movie, it could be, modeling, it could be something like that. But I also, kind of to play devil's advocate, go back to the fact that pageants are supposed to be to see who you are completely.
Yes.
So the way swimsuits originally came about is because they wanted to see your fitness.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit there and you're going to promote to me about being a speaker on certain, do you have that body, that fitness, that goal? So we're wrapping up. This was one of our most engaging episodes today. Really quick, where's your future?
Public relations. So
Amazing.
Miss India kind of completely changed my future around. Before I wanted to just a dance instructor. Now I want to pursue PR, which I'm doing at Humber College. I'm already doing media communications there, and I'm going to take it forward. And the support of the faculty is helping me do that.
Well, from one pageant girl to another, congratulations.
Thank
I think you've been
you.
fabulous. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. Do check out the Miss India Canada pageant this weekend taking place in Mississauga. You can go on the Miss India Canada website and definitely check it out. I will be there to support the event. Manasvi will be there handing out the crown, and you can see some great performances and some fabulous girls in the community talking, and it might help change your view on some of the myths that we spoke about today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Richika Bindra, and I will see you next week on #NoFilter.